लाइभ जुल दिव्यासु लाइभ जुल
जुल
दिव्यासु
जुल yeah CNG the focusing is CNG
저절로 빠삭시다 더 제 문화촌어 더 비세스 자졸에 제 문화촌어로 터나 자이디피 페이스북에 자이존에 디피 알에 페이스북에 라이브 세이존에 디피 나포 줌에 자이존에 디피 सक्시드 लस्कुस 알에 저절로 빠도 더요 자졸 치사 비세스 카통요 यो गूगल ट्रांसलेट यो विषयले कया खाना बला याद थ विषय ज्याजो टाइटल का वो विषय थ ज्याजो यो टाइटल जने जी थन गन थिएन ठीक पिसमा सुये जी गूगल ट्रांसलेट झन्डै 16 न्या सुरु दिया उखनो मार्च महिना यो 29 तारिख नि से दिगुडु वो विषय जने छिसा कया थ खाना बला याउजी थ मुख्यतया छिसा खाना तिनो जने तो Google Translation contribution close जोला तो छाजो का मला सुकारण जने contribution या close है परि छौ विषयले खाना बला छिकिन्द जानकारी बिजी थो नेसा यो कुछ के दुजी यो कोइ थो Google Translation थो जुये चंग ने नि था जुये चंग Google Translation दिके माउने छा छु है परि यो कोइ नेसा दैजी ओके छौ नेसा जने थो थोके जवाफ जी लिसा बिजी Google Translate contribution cha data. Ale meu jane Nepal. When will I see Nepalbhasa again in Google Translate? Nepalbhasa no Google Translate Google khane dai tai pari chau wo meu ni sa chikpin ge wei chong duji ma de. Other meu how will the accuracy of the model continue to grow? Mala atho banda jula tara gaina jane tho continue jui dai pati bisela na thau khala bala jui. Ale will I be able to translate into Nepalbhasa with the same level of accuracy as Nepali, Hindi, or any other highly used languages? Maybe language have to accuracy milaina ya faila rai pari chau bisela na khalabala ji. I have contributed for nearly the last 3 years. Where has all my contribution gone? Magla je soda taka तो Google Translation यो लागि contribute न वो contribution गरौ न रही विषयले न छि खाला वाला ठाउँ छि विशेष पहा तो खाला वाला यो कुछ के दै चौपटी नेस यो चाहिँ लिस बित छिस Google लाई छिट ग्वालियर न चने दिउपटी पासा पाजु उजल राजभण्डारी जी छिस ठाउँ बनाटैडु वेकयु पाखे छिस चाहिँ वो छु गे Google तो दको छिकमिङ के दु नेसा यो लिसा बिपटी ज्याजुइजी जे थो Google Translate यो बारे छिसा यो कोइ खलायो रुंगु खासा ठुके छटा जने हिस्ट्री न कने मास्ति होला छा गे Google सुरु जुल टाइ बिसेले थोना आछसा इले बिले छिसा मेमोरी रिफ्रेश यम तस बाय लाइजी नुनु पि मन्टेसन सोइबले थो Google गे रहिपटी सी चिकपिसा सुगे जिमाजी नपा छिसा नेपाल भाषा mobile apps देखेउ सिलसिला December 5th मलाई December 5 2020 साले वो छिसा एप देखे तो छिके त्यो मरे देखे मफु जुला अले ऐसा चने नेपाल भाषा डिक्शनरी अनलाइन प्रोजेक्ट तयारी या malo वो सा छिसा देखे तो सिलसिला छिसा 2020 December 5 महीने वो टाइम में छि काठमाडौँ महानगरपालिका या हने बम मेयर बिदा सुन्दर साकेजु यो मुपा सुइ छिसा वो खुस न्यास खुस गो छिसा खगोट या नेपाल भाषा अनलाइन डिक्शनरी अनलाइन प्रोजेक्ट सुरु यानौका वए चले छिसा उज्जवल राजभण्डारी नाप्ले वटा चुलाटा उके छवा लिपा वेकला वो 5 तारिख के मीटिंग है फिर जने नेपाल भाषा त गुगलले दुठ्याको छ गेजुट हैपटी वेकला जने खचने न्यासना दिला वो खने था दिबले उबले आ टाइम न योको वन नंगु सन्डे निगो सोगवे वन नो जुने वेकै त जिमसा रिक्वेस्ट न नेक्स्ट वीक के ने नाप्ला फाइल छ ठुके विषयले खला बला ते फाइल टाइपले वेकला सर्स स्वीकार याना डिसेम्बर यो शनिबार 12 तारिख के जने गुगल यो ज्याचो यो लागि चाहिँ उजल जुन आप खाला बाला जला अले वो खाला बाला जुन हुँगे चाहिँ डको चीज चाहिँ सेटअप ठाए जला ऐसा चाहिँ छिक पिसा थो नेपाल भाषा टाइप टाठे कम्युनिटी द माउपटी ल्याङ्ग्वेज ख मखला थो चाहिँ छु व्यक्ति यु अथवा छु संस्था मखुर प्रमाण केने फलर तैदिल न्यास तैदिल वना छिसा फोराइने बिया छिथे अफिसियली प्याउ चौपटी सरकारी पाठे पिकन्टौ मखला मनमोहन अधिकारी ज्यू पाले प्रधानमन्त्री जुबले नापा छि टिचिङ हस्पिटल मिटिङ चोमले तो नेपाल भाषा नेवारी मखु नेपाल भाषा तगजने तैदो 1995 पे प्याउ चौ अले मेउ छौयु जिमसा जने प्रमाण्य रुपे वेकै द छै बिया अठाठे छिसा अले गुगल ट्रान्सलेट गुगल या त जने स्याम्पल क्वेसननियर सके जने छिटो जने झन्डै छिनिसको खगोटा खगोट हामीको खफुट हामीला टाटा हो खफुट सोलाई भित्र चिकित्सा ट्रान्सलेट या फाइलर के गूगल यू ये आइन व्यू 1200 वो सेन्टेन्सेस त जने सोलाई भित्र छिसा कम्प्लिट या मा वो जने छिटो टास्क बिए दिलो वेका पिसा अले वो जने या त जने संयुक्त जु दिपेश जु सुभाष राम प्रजापति जु पे मिलेजिया वो जाना फोंगा उके मेपी ग्वालिने दुपी थन कृष्ण चकुजु दि अठाठा बाल गोपाल जु डायर न साकी जु पिसाना ग्वालियन दिउदु मेपी आ दजन नाम होला थो सुना सुना ग्वालियन वो खगोना छिसा 1200 सेन्टेन्स त कम्प्लिट न दुठाके बिए छिसा गूगल है वना ठीक जुला अले उके जने छिसा मेउ छु प्रमाण केने मल्ला छ देवनागरी चोयबले जने नेपाली नेपाल भाषाला हिन्दीला सिमिलरिटी डु जुने तो टाहे नेपाल भाषा वो नेपालीले भिन्नता दुर्गे केनमा वेगे पिसा टाइडी बले छिसा यो कोइ छिसा सफट पटरपटी के प्याउ चौ नेपाल भाषा वो नेपाली यो छिसा डिफरेंसेस जने वो दुठ्याके त यो को छिसा जने प्रमाण द टाइ बिया वेगे पिन्ड अठे जुबले अले वेगे पिसा थोला ठिके जुला अले मेउ टाहे छु जने छबु नेस छु जुय चुन दास यो को मन तसा ठौकने नेपाल भाषा एद नेवारी टाइप चलन जुय चौदु खला वो नेवारी टाइपले अले गूगल यास अथवा जने गना छु छिसा जने अनलाइन स्वेबले न्याठना नेवारी टाइटोदु अल फिर जने छिसा नेपाली भाषा रके दुठ्याइटल नाच जि टाइठा प्रमाण ल छिसा केनेट न अले वये सिलसिला चाहिँ जी थाय लगे जुया जिमि टिम चाहिँ नेपाली चौपी थ भाषा विज्ञापी न जने खाना झन्डै 51 जना टियुला लिस्ट दिएको उठाए छ अले यो को नेपाल भाषा विज्ञापी न खाना फिर चाहिँ छिसा नेवारी टेउकी नेवार ल्याङ्ग्वेज टेउकी नेपाल भाषा टेउके चाहिँ खाला बलाइ नेबले यो को मेजोरिटी चाहिँ फिर चाहिँ छु नेपाल भाषा न पनि से चले जो नेपाल भाषा टेमा आउने नेपाल भाषा रके चाहिँ गुगलले छिसा पेसन नेबले नेपाल भाषा यो हिसाबे छिसा चाहिँ वो गूगल ट्रान्सलेट सुरु जुला अले वो सोला पेला यो जासिरे रुंगा दिसंबर ने से अप्रैल तक थमले ऐसा छिसा वी आर रेडी नाउ उजल जुना जाने छिटो सिग्नल बिया दिला आ छिसा जाने थो कम्युनिटी इनेबल न गुली कम्युनिटी न छिटो जाने योको ग्वालियर जोइन जुय थो गूगल ट्रान्सलेट सहयोग या त उले छु याक्नु जुइ अले गूगल त कन्भिन्स जुइ कि थो जाने टाठा कम्युनिटी त माउ एट द टाइम वो बिगिनिङ जुबलेला बिगिनिङ ला टाइम हो चाहिँ वो सुरु जुबले इफ आई एम नट रङ 1800 मय के चाहिँ कन्ट्रिब्युटेड रहेछ चाहिँ ठो गूगल ट्रान्सलेट चाहिँ कन्ट्रिब्युट दिला खला अले छिसा आठो कम्युनिटीले वना चाहिँ छिसा चाहिँ जाजो याहरुको पछि रुंगा चाहिँ अप्रिल यो 17 तारिक 2021 उले चाहिँ इन्टेन्सिभ गूगल ट्रान्सलेसन लाइभ नेपाल भाषा गूगल ट्रान्सलेट लाइभ के चाहिँ छिसा आइएम पति काठमाडौँ महानगरपालिका महानगरपालिका या उपमेयर मेजु छि सुनिता डंगल जुय त सुरु याके चाहिँ छिसा डक्ले नाफाउ चाहिँ गूगल ट्रान्सलेट अनलाइन डगो जोइन जुय वर्ल्ड वाइड जोइन जुय फु कथन चाहिँ 17 अप्रिल 2021 ने सुरु या नखला अले वो छिसा या रुंगे चाहिँ वो जाजो जुय चोन यो कोठा जुल मेन ला छि वर्ल्ड नेवा अर्गनाइजेसन ठोय आज यो चौ लाइभ ठोय जुमे मार्फटे जु जुल अठाठे उकेन लिप चाहिँ ग्रुप मनन या भके चाहिँ टोरन्टो एरिया हला मेट्रोपोलिटन एरिया चाहिँ नेवा कैनेडियन नेवा गुठी गडु वेका पिसन छु अटक चाहिँ ग्रुप मन चाहिँ नेपाल भाषा गूगल ट्रान्सलेट दियान दिला उकेन लिप चाहिँ छि न्यूयॉर्क के चम्पी नेवा कमिटी नरेश साकीजु डाक्टर नरेश साकीजु यु लिडरशिप एट हामीले चाहिँ नि मको Monday to Friday हप्ता न्यानो टका चाहिँ बौनी 9 बजे निसी 10 बजे तक 6 गयो लागि अन्न मना गुगल ट्रान्सलेट सुरिया जुला उके वया चाहिँ लिपा छि नेपाल स्टुडेन्ट टीचर पिन अप सट वेक अप पिन अप न या जुला तर वो कन्टिन्यू ड्रीम अफ द उके लिपा चाहिँ छि नेपाल छि साके सुरेन्जुयु लिडरशिप चाहिँ गुगल ट्रान्सलेट सुरिया या टाइडिउने अन्न छौ जुला वन उक्न मटी तले निरन्तर जिया चुनु चुङुका उके वो बाइक न मेउ छौ छि नेवा मिसा साहित्यका मुना टाइपरि छौ ग्रुप छिन्चेमेसु जु छिन्चमा जुइमाजी सियो ग्रुप है छौ जना अन्जना तामरकर जुयो लिडरशिप ता ओना छौ हप्ताइ निनु कथा चाहिँ गुगल ट्रान्सलेट या जाजो सुरु जोला अच्छा थैजुया चाहिँ छु ठ बच्चाहरुको ठ गुगल ट्रान्सलेसन यो बारे जे छिपिन्द हिस्ट्री गर्न छ न 29 मार्च 2024 ले वया आका चाका चाहिँ जिता मलाई दिबला चाहिँ यो कमन त्यसमा जिम्रो फन यन दिला छा छु गेर ग फन दिउले अले उखनो उजलजु वास्तव में नेपाल इंडिया ट्रैवल या दिने वेके जन लेओभर दुने वेके एयरपोर्ट चुन चुन टाइम जिमी मिटिङ चुन का ठाउँ दि पछिन जने ठाउँ छिपिन्द वेके मोटो छिसा जने ठो छा छु गेजुइ रहिबडी विषयले ठुके भविष्य गर्न दु गन्थेनि रहि विषयले छिपिन्द जानकारी बिट ठाउँ पछि मन चुनौका उके छिपिन्द सुय न्यासट डट टास सजेसन डट आसन वेलकम वजने छिपिन्द ला लोना दिसा वो ला लोंग आरे चने छिपिन्द जने जिमसा वो ईबी बचा के कथा चने यात उके चने आछि सूर्यन छ उजल जो छिर चने ठाउँ ठो ज्या जोले लस्कु सेन चुन नपछि जैन जुजुले यो कोइको सुहाना देसन जन Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Thank you very much, Susan Drew.
All right. Yep. So we go by line here.
Okay.
The people are curious. Like suddenly,
sure.
As I said, it stopped on March 29, 2024. Right after 3 years, like many people were worried, what happened to our contribution? What will happen? Whether we will really be in our Google list? Nepalbhasa will be in Google
yep.
list.
Yep.
So first, I guess I will ask you as a question is if it is okay, then you answer that.
Yeah. Can you maybe give me 2 minutes? And sure. I just want to say from my perspective where we are.
Yes,
right?
Sir. Please,
I think
please, yes.
I think just the way you summarize, and I'll try to do this in Nepali as much as I can. All right. So 3 वर्ष अगाडिदेखि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ सुरु गरेको, right? It was, it was quite a, it was a very big effort, very एकदम ठुलो काम थियो के हामीले गर्न लागेको, and so it was really good that the community came together and we started doing this. I know we're celebrating 1,000 day of daily translation, community coming together. So over a period of time, I think we've collected over 35-40,000 sentence pairs, right? So English and Nepalbhasa sentence pairs. And we have kind of worked with the beta model. We have kind of evaluated the beta model, and so there's a lot of contribution that this team has kind of put together, which is amazing. Now, as what happens is, in technology always sort of, is always getting better every day, right? And so what we're seeing now is improvement in AI capabilities over the last year and a half that has evolved so much so that we have new techniques, new methodologies that can make the work that we're doing a lot faster. Imagine it took us 3 years with so many people, right? But there are thousands and thousands of other languages that don't have the same type of resources. They don't have this many speakers who can actually understand technology, right? The Nepalbhasa community is very fortunate, right, that we have so many speakers like you, and who can actually interact with technology and are dedicated to continue to commit to it. So when we look at the next 1,000 languages, it's really hard for us to kind of build the same kind of community, enthusiasm to drive the similar outcome. Plus, I mean, if we take ourselves as an example, right, it took us 3 years to get to somewhere where we have something meaningful to use. So, with all of that in mind, what has happened now is that there's a new technique that's come out, and I'll send you all a link to this. And I think we can maybe even post it with our in Facebook with this session as well. It kind of talks about what is the next thing that we're doing at Google, right? And how it's different, very different from what we're doing, because a lot of AI capabilities now have become a little bit more self-learning. And so there are ways to build language models now that are much faster, much easier without requiring so much data and so many people, right? So that's what's kind of is coming in the horizon. So I'll send you a video with the details, and you can kind of look through it, and then you'll get a better understanding of all of that, right? So, but I will now answer all of the questions, and then I'll tell you where we are, all right? Susan Ju, maybe you can start with your
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. As you said, we started Google Translate, and after completion of 100 episodes, we started WDB, right? World Newa Daily Broadcast. So we just celebrated 1,000 episodes about 10 days ago. So anyway, the questions we have here, they're already on the poster, but I'm still gonna read that, and you just answer one by one. And if anybody has a question at the end, we will, the first, whoever raised their hand first, we will give the first priority to answer.
Okay.
Or
okay.
To ask.
So I will start with the questions that are listed here. All right.
I will read that to you, and you answer
Perfect.
about it. Is that good? Okay. Thank you so much. So as I mentioned earlier, many people have many questions, like they're curious about it. So the first question is already on the poster, but I'm just going to read to you. Why was the contribution section closed? First question, right? It's
sure.
29. Please, yeah.
So I think I think it's kind of going back to what I said, right? The contribution approach, before let's say last year, we didn't have any other means of building language models that didn't have significant content online that we could capture and then automatically build language models, right? So, if you look at like English and maybe French, there's a lot of content online that is English and also in French, the same content. So we can get all of that data, pull it all in, and then we can, automatically do all of that work of building models, right? Now with Nepalbhasa and English, there isn't enough content online, right? Maybe a lot of that content is just in books, physical books. It's hard to kind of gather all the data that's required. So the approach the language team came up with is, okay, how do we get the community involved? And the community can then start contributing, right, to the sentence verse, to building that database, right? And so that was the whole idea behind community contribution. And before Nepalbhasa, I worked with another language that they did exactly the same thing. They were contributing, and then we launched a language. Now it's Nepalbhasa. We did about 45,000, I think, is the total sentence pair that were there. And so that's where it is. Now, what happened in the last year or so, there's new techniques that came out that requires less community contribution and sort of a self-learning model built into AI algorithms. So the video I'll send, or at least the video and the text that comes with it, will explain how that model works. That model has replaced the community contribution. So we have a better way, a faster way of doing things for languages, because like I said, the next 1,000 languages do not have as many people and as many people willing to spend their time to build this, right? And they might not have 3 years to go, right? 3, 4 years, 5 years, because the language might have less and less users over that period of time. So we're trying to shorten that and try to see if we can build language models in, weeks and months, right? Now that's what we're trying to get to. So there's a new technique that's come out, all right? That's why the community contribution page has gone away. We're going to replace that with a new technique that's going to be launched, right? Okay, I think I got the first question. Okay.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm just curious. The video you're going to share,
I'll share it to everybody.
Share it with us now today?
Yeah, I can share it right now. It's a public video, so I can share it in the chat here. But I think we should also put it on Facebook as a good way of but it'll kind of explain how we're shifting our AI techniques around natural language processing, to make it easier. So
do you need access to the host to share that?
Oh no, I put it in the chat. I don't think it'll work well on the it's fairly long too, I think. So
I see. Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna go to next question now then.
Sure.
So as I said earlier, it's I'm just gonna read from the the question, not by like what it listed here. So next question is like many people were really concerned, right? Where has all my contribution gone for last 3 years? There are people like meet online
Okay.
every day for right,
Yep.
like
Yep.
every
Yep.
day for 3 years, and they were really worried and curious. What happened? I contributed for 3 years.
Yep.
So can you please explain
Sure.
about that?
Sure.
Thank you.
So all of your contribution is still there. It's still in the database. It's still within Google. And one thing also I'll kind of preface this is that I think there's another question. The second question that I see is when will I see Nepalbhasa again in Google Translate? All right. So a couple of things. So all of the work you have done is now going to actually result in something that we all been waiting for, that we started 3 years ago. So I just talked to the engineering team yesterday. And so we are looking to launch Nepalbhasa as part of Google Translate by, I would say, end of May, June, first week, in that window. So just let's just say May, June timeframe. So all of the work that you have done, all of the language models, that the languages that you, the translations that you have contributed, the validation effort, the evaluation effort, all of that has been used to build a model that we're actually going to launch. So when you go to, let me see if I can find this. Yeah, so let me share this. Screen share. Can somebody give me access to share a screen?
Oh, okay. Okay, 1 minute. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Here, share this. So, right now, we only see, Nepali here and Norwegian as the two languages that start with N. In May, end of May, early June, you'll see Nepalbhasa listed here, right? So this becomes part of your standard Google Translate page. So the language will actually be launched. It'll be the first version of our model that will be launched for everybody to use, not just for us, but everybody in the world to use, right? Everybody who has a cell phone, a computer, whatever they want to use, they can use this, right? They can translate documents. They'll be able to put a website and then translate the website. So imagine if there's a, Washington Post article that's in English and somebody wants to read it in Nepalbhasa, they can just put the link and they'll hit it and they'll be able to do that. So that is, we're targeting end of May, early June for that time frame. All right. So and this is only happening because all of you put in the effort to get us this far, right? So this is a culmination of all of your effort resulting in a language model that we're going to launch. And this will be here forever. So now, even after, let's say, 10 years, this language model will be here. You don't have to build another one. It'll be evolving itself over a period of time. All right. So that's the answer. So if all of your work is still there, we're using what you have done to build a model that we're actually going to launch. All right. I have seen the early version of this. I've already seen the screen with Nepalbhasa here, listed here in Google. Internally, it's already we're trying to figure out how to best present it. So I've already seen that view internally. All right. So that's good news, right? So that is end of the first stage of everything that we've done. Right, we'll actually have a language model. So on your phone, when you actually go to Google Translate or you download Google Translate as an app, you can download this language model onto your phone and use it as well. I hope that answers the question.
All right. Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Let's ask another question here. There aren't many questions left. We already gone through many. Will we be able to translate into Nepalbhasa with the same level of accuracy as Nepali, Hindi, or any other highly used languages? That's one question we have been getting from the.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. I think my opinion on that matter is that because we don't have as much data, our language models probably might not be as accurate as other languages that have much more larger data sources to start with, right? Any kind of models like this is all built on data, and the more data you have, the more your model learns, right? And the more it's able to sort of adapt to questions, right? So I think over a period of time, we can get there, but out the door, I think this is the first iteration, right? And I'll kind of explain to you this way. Technology doesn't like you do it once and it stops, right? If you think about your mobile phone, imagine the very first phone, you had those little small things with all the buttons, has small screen. The only thing you could do is probably talk on them, right? But now imagine the phones today. Technology, one thing about technology, it always gets better over time, right? And just like any other technology, take it a phone, take it a car, take it a computer, whatever that is, our model will also get better over time. The more we use, the more feedback it gathers, right? Over time, it's going to get better and better and better, right? So it might be initially not as accurate as maybe Hindi or Nepali, but over time, it'll get better, right? And that's how we have to treat it. It's a piece of technology, and it will improve over time, right?
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. You answered really nicely. I got many, calls from different individuals. I'm not going to ask them right now. I will wait till the end. We have our the participants here who are also daily contributors to our Nepalbhasa Google Translate for last 3 years. And I see Dr. Lochan Manandar raise her hand. I'm gonna give her time to ask question, and please you answer accordingly. Thank you very much. Lochan Tata, please go ahead and ask
thank
your
you.
question.
Suha, Jozulpa, Jozulpa season. Thank you, Ujjwal, for coming and explaining all these things that we were actually worried about it. But the question now that I would like to ask you, Ujjwal, you said that there is a video and you already seen the beginning or part of it, the translation that people made contributed towards. Does it mean that now you don't need any more translation? That's one question, right? And the other thing is that it is burning into my, I really wanted to ask you this. It may not be the right place, but I'm still going to ask you. Instead of having the Google Translate, now that technology is so, high, in a sort of going forward, we have seen quite a lot of nowadays AI, the speech technology, that you see that, when you go to the different part of the world and you just put your language and they translate into the whatever language it is. Will it be there in Nepalbhasa as well?
Okay.
That's the second question.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Can I the last question that we were worried that for somewhere along the line that I heard that Google was sort of abruptly stopped because there is a question about Nepalbhasa and Newari. Is there anything that has to do with it?
Okay. I'll answer it in backwards because they're easy to answer for me that way. All right. So,
thank you.
So when we looked at the process is we look at the language name. All right. So I think this is there's a standard. There is a standard, and now Google doesn't define the standard. We use the standard, and the importance here is that we use this standard because it's not just Google that's doing this work, right? Imagine tomorrow it could be Microsoft building a Nepalbhasa model, right? It could be some other organization, right? What we can't have is different organization just picking and choosing their own name, right? Just imagine a car, right? Imagine if suddenly there wasn't a standard of how wide the car should be or how long a car should be, and everybody chose their own standard. It'd be really difficult to drive on the road because the lanes are a given size, right? So we develop standards so that even if different people do it, they're kind of conforming to a standard so that it can all work together, right? So even with languages, we have certain standards, right? So we have, name is a very critical piece, right? So if we all call everybody by a different name, that it'll be hard to understand who that person is, right? So we have to align in one name. And so we have a standard, and I'll share the standard with you. It's a Library of Congress standard, and it's a what we call the ISO standard, right? So this is an ISO standard. You can go there. I can share this. Let me share this link with you all on the chat as well, so that you can go back, and if you have some time, you can always. I don't know how to share this now. Oh, sorry, right here. I will share this to everyone in the meeting. Here you go. Right, but if you look at this language, it captures, like, I mean, all of the language, or at least most of the languages in the world, right? And it gives it very specific names so that it's consistent, right? Even it gives it names that you use usually for programming. So for example, Nepalbhasa, short form is NEW. That's how so within Google, everything that has NEW suffix, we know is Nepalbhasa. Now, Nepalbhasa has a couple of different names. So this is the English. The first column is English. So in English names, there are two names that are given for Nepalbhasa and Newari. All right. This is what the standard is. This is, I believe, French. And I believe this is German. I believe this is German. All right. So there's this row, and then there is this row, which is all format classical, right, versus what is modern day. And this is what we're standardizing on, because we know we're not doing a classical Nepalbhasa sort of model, right? Now, to ensure we have consistency, right? So tomorrow, if somebody else builds this model, they will also call it exactly the same, right? So that when we know, so say you have two translation app in your phone, you want to know that you're translating from English to Nepalbhasa on both the apps. So there's consistency, right? So in Google, what we're going to do is we're going to call primarily, the primary name will be Nepalbhasa, and in brackets, we will have Newari as the secondary name, so that it's consistent with the standard that's defined over here, right? So that's one thing. Second thing we did also is that we also did some survey. So we just want to take this as is, right? We surveyed different individuals in Nepal, right? And we just wanted to kind of get an idea of what those people would call if I were to ask them that language. If I gave them a description of the language, what was the first word, or how would they identify Nepal, right? If you walked in the streets of Kathmandu and you spoke it, what would they call it? Would they call it Nepalbhasa? Would they call it Newari? Would they call it something else, right? And the resounding answer everybody said was it was Newari, right? So there's also concern that if we put a name there that people, the general public doesn't understand, then is it effective for us to even have that name there, right? So we wanted to make sure that we were true to the origination of the name, as well as true to what the general public would understand this name by, right? And so that's why we kind of did both. So it will come up as Nepalbhasa, in bracket, it will be Newari as well, so that everybody who sees it will understand what that is.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much.
No, then your second question, I think your second question was about, can you please, speech?
Yeah.
Yes. So if you go to translate, right, what happens is that, as the model evolves more and more, we can, right now we have a very text-based model, right? So it's, we see a bunch of words and we translate a bunch of words. That's all text. As we get more, as we evolve with the model and we can add components of, speech, we can have audio responses and things like that. The thing you see, like for example, in Google Translate, that for some there are few languages, like I think 8 or 10 languages, where you can speak, you can say it in English and reply back in whatever language you want to do that. But because they also have text speech models built in, so we have to also build those. It's not as easy as just, I think here, I believe here, if you type something, you can actually play it back, but it plays back in a very computer generated word. It might not sound good, but it will actually say Devanagari word. So for example, let me share again. I have tried this in the past. So for example, like let's say we do Nepali, okay? And I want to go home. Okay. So you can click on this button and it will say, right, it wants to go home, right? So what I'm trying to say is these kind of things might work, but it's going to work very rudimentarily. It's going to be very rudimentary in its working. You have to build like speech models and things of that nature to sort of go there. Now there are a lot of AI speech models that are out there available today, right? And you can train them very specifically on one language, like for example, Nepalbhasa, And so it understands Nepalbhasa better. And so it can reply back in Nepalbhasa. So there's a lot of things you can do, but it's an evolution. It's the next step, right? Once you have some foundational models in place, those are the things you can add on to it.
We'll see that.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can try. So when Nepalbhasa becomes when Nepalbhasa becomes available, you can hit play over here, and then you can see what it sounds like. I've tried. I listened to it. It didn't sound right to me, but it will say something back, right?
Yeah.
So it starts there, right? And your first question, I think I've kind of lost track.
No, that is. I mean, now this Google Translate. You say that from the video you can see. We are going to see it. So would we just stop now, or just are we still going to go doing the Google Translation as such?
I think what's going to happen over here is, like, for example, you go over here, you do this.
Don't hear. We have to play games, Kim.
Who is that?
Okay.
Somebody.
Please mute your mic. Thank you.
So when you translate over here, this translates right now. Let's say, for example, this was incorrect, right? What I'm showing you is incorrect. Then you actually have a send feedback right here. You can click, and then you can capture the screenshot, and you can provide feedback. So what will change is, one, the rigor, right? The rigor that we had for the last 3 years of getting online every evening, doing 10, 15, 20, 50, whatever that number is, that rigor is not going to be required. And how we do it is also changing, right? And so I think now we have to slowly, once this language becomes available, we have to shift towards using this and then seeing what kind of results we get, and then we start providing feedback as part of that, right?
Okay. Thank you ever so much, Ujjalji.
I hope.
आजका जिराजकट EBD छ नि
एक सेकेन्ड actually छुन पावे नि
हजुर युटो राइज हैनी नवे मिले मजको छु
sorry छु पावे जिठन छौ Facebook 에 는 예서 왜 정도 지 우케 छका बन के ने Facebook 에 왜 정도 नेसा बिराज राजपाटे जुन नेना दिउडु मे जुन पाखे नेवारी जुया वै कि नेपाल भाषा जुया वै त विषयले उजल जुन नक्तिनी लिसा बिया दिडोंक्ला नेपाल भाषा ब्रैकेट जग नेवारी जुई अल्थन जॉर्ज भट्टाचार्य जुन नेना दिउडु. So Ujjal, there's a Facebook question for you from Mr. George Bhattacharya. What would be the accuracy of Nepalbhasa translation? Can you please answer?
Accuracy is a very, very, very difficult number to calculate. I think what you will see, and I cannot give a perfect answer for this because it's a difficult metric to sort of capture for us when it comes to things like this, right? In language, because, for example, if I say something in Nepalbhasa and you understand what I'm saying, is that accurate enough, right? If I were to talk to someone who's an academic, it might be very wrong, right? So accuracy is a very, 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 very broad definition. So, and also what ends up happening is there's a certain type of data. For example, let's say there's a lot of data around, medical records. Let's say, for example, we had a lot of medical records in Nepalbhasa that we used to translate. Then medical terms would be better because there's more data represented there, right? Versus if there was no medical terms in the database when we built the model and we started asking medical questions, then the accuracy would be very poor because there's no data to start with. So accuracy is a very, very broad term. I think, as I mentioned before, right, this is a starting point. This is the very first iteration, right, of this model. So it's a great place to start. Starting is always hard, so we're starting. Now is the time to sort of build, and accuracy is only something that gets better with time, right? Time, usage, more data, more feedback, right? New techniques. And so all of that is what we need to start applying, right? So accuracy, I'll say, is something that depends on what you're asking. Some things will be accurate, some things might not be accurate at all, something might be just plain wrong, right? So we'll just have to kind of learn to kind of adjust, and we'll understand. And in that, you'll see, for certain things, the model will work really well. For other things, it might be really bad. Like, for example, simple sentences, it might work well, but if I give it like 50 sentences or like a paragraph from a book, it might not work that well, right? So you have to kind of understand where the model is useful for, but that will improve over time. So the more you give it, the more it will improve over time.
Good enough. Thank you very much. I hope Jose Bhattacharya. I hope you got the answer from Ujjwal. Now I'm going to go to Pawazu. Pawazu raised hand earlier. And please, Pawazu, two questions. Yes, I did it in that in
जोजोलोपा उज्जवल भण्डारीज्यू पनि छिटो कार्न छ जोजोलोपा जी अपुग्यो लागि नि थाना फेमस है नि सटे
Ujjwal Raj Bhandari ne Bhandari
उज्जवल राज भण्डारीज्यू जी मुटु जे नुगला खचा मुटु भण्डारी जोजोको ढेला उज्जवल राज भण्डारी जोजोलोपा जी अपुग्यो लागि फेमस छ नि साथी जुन आजभन्दा हामीले 3 वर्ष अगाडिदेखि 3-4 वर्ष अगाडिदेखि हामी जुन गुगल ट्रान्सलेट टिममा हामी चाहिँ कम्युनिटी कन्ट्रिब्युसन हामी गऱ्यौँ त्यो बेलामा हामीले यो 1000 भाग पनि हामीले पुरा गर्यौँ 1000 दिन हामीले चाहिँ पुरा गर्यौँ त्यति बेलासम्ममा हाम्रो चाहिँ यो बेटा मोडलबाट ट्रान्सलेट गरी हेर्दाखेरि एक्युरेसी रेट जम्मा 30% मात्रै देखियो 25 देखि 30% बाहेक एक्युरेसी रेट देखिएको थिएन यसै बिचमा हाम्रो चाहिँ यो पुग्यो भनेर चाहिँ यसरी स्टप गरियो वास्तवमा चाहिँ यो 30% एक्युरेसी रेट हुँदै बन्द गर्नुपर्ने खासै कारण के पर्यो यो अहिलेसम्म यो बुझ्न सकेनौँ नम्बर एक कुरा यो भयो अर्को कुरा चाहिँ जुन नेवारी र नेपाल भाषा भने जुन अघि पनि आइसक्यो हजुरले पनि भनिसक्नुभयो किन नेवारी राखियो भनेर तर यो नेवारी र नेपाल भाषाको बिचमा हाम्रो नेवारहरूको चाहिँ यो मर्मको कुरा हो झन्डै 100 वर्ष अगाडिदेखि नै हामी नेवारी होइनौँ हाम्रो नाम नेपाल भाषा हो हाम्रो शिलालेखमा नेपाल भाषै लेखेको छ हामी चाहिँ यो विभिन्न यो प्रमाणले यो हो भनेर सरकारले समेत आधिकारिक रूपले घोषणा गरिसकेको नेपाल भाषा नेवारी चाहिँ भन्न साथै हामीलाई ह्युमिलिएसन फिल हुने नेवारी शब्द चाहिँ भन्नै नहुने तर राणाकालदेखि नै चाहिँ यो चाहिँ नेवारहरूलाई ह्युमिलिएसन गर्नको लागि यो सरकारी स्तरबाट नै व्यापक रूपमा प्रचार गरेर नेपाल भाषालाई नेवारी भन्न लगाइयो र यसले गर्दाखेरि जनमानसमा पनि अहिले चाहिँ नेपाल भाषा भन्दा पनि नेवारी भन्ने प्रचलन धेरै देखियो तर यो चाहिँ गलत छ यो ह्युमिलिएसन फिलिङ हो यो भनेर हामीले सरकारी स्तरबाट समेत प्रमाणित गरिसकेकोलाई अहिले नेवारी भनेर त राख्नु हुँदै भएन बरु चाहिँ यो सबै क्यान्सल होस् बरु यो नेवारी भनेर चाहिँ नराखियोस् नेवारी चाहिँ एकदमै चाहिँ यो आपत्तिजनक छ यो चाहिँ सबैले चाहिँ हामी यो प्रत्येक नेवारले यसलाई चाहिँ विरोध गर्नै पर्छ नेवारी भन्न हुँदैन बरु नेपाल भाषा नेपाल भाषा त भन्नै पर्ने भयो यो नेपाल भाषा किन भन्नुपर्छ 1000 प्रमाण हामीसँग छ यो चाहिँ ऐतिहासिक प्रमाणदेखि लिएर विभिन्न प्रमाणहरू हामीसँग नेपाल भाषामै छ यो चाहिँ सरकारले चाहिँ जबरजस्ती यसलाई ह्युमिलिएसन गराइएको मात्रै हो तर लेख्नै पर्यो भने ब्राकेटमा नेवारी होइन नेवार मात्रै भनियोस् बरु नट नेवारी बरु चाहिँ नेवार मात्रै भनियोस्
Thank you very much. Very, very passionate argument, right? And you know, I understand the sentiments. Maybe I do not understand the sentiments. Let me take that back. I do not understand the sentiments, right? I have not faced the challenges that you have faced, or sort of kind of grown up in an environment where you have sort of been facing some of the biases that come with the term Newari, right? It's a little bit challenging, as I mentioned before, right? So as I said, it's a standard that's defined already, but standards evolve, right? So tomorrow, if, you know, I think this is 639-2, there was a 639-1 before, right? If 639-3 comes and this community goes and petitions the standard body to say, okay, it's not Newari, it's just Nepalbhasa or Nepalbhasa / Newar, or, you know, whatever term that's more appropriate, right? Then that will flow through the system. It is, you know, think of this as like you start at the top. Whatever is defined at the top, all those names carry down, right? So changing here doesn't help us because you need to change up here, right? So this team, the best use of your time, if that's the concern, is to go and petition the standard body to change the name. Because what that will do will then change it for everybody, right? Because tomorrow, if Microsoft builds a model, they're going to use the same name. They're not going to use a different name. And you're going to have the same conversation with somebody like me at Microsoft, right? If Amazon builds this model, you're going to have the same conversation with somebody like me at Amazon or somebody else, right? So the concern is, the concern is a valid concern, right? But the process today is dictated by standard body and organizations, because that helps all of us sort of work and build towards one common goal, right? So you can, a standard is defined at the top, and we're down at the bottom using that standard, right? So what you want to be able to do is change the standard at the top. So it's, yes, I understand your concern, but I think let's focus on changing it at the top. That way, then it'll flow through to everybody, because otherwise you're going to be having this conversation over and over again, and I think that'll get in the way, right? That's my feedback here, right? I understand your concern, and I don't know if there's an easy way to solve this problem, right? To just change at the bottom level. That's the part. Now, going back to your first question, I think, every language, I think, after a certain point, when we don't see significant improvement, we say, okay, this is good enough for us to go, because we're not seeing improvement, right? Now, improvements happen over time. It might have a different process. So for us, what the amount of accuracy we're able to get with the community contribution probably kind of peaked out. It's kind of at, like accuracy goes like this, and kind of becomes flat after a time, because it's really hard to get more and more accurate. And so after that point is like, okay, is more effort really required for us to, and what are we going to really get out of it, right? So we kind of say, okay, this is good enough for us to kind of launch it. And then we, like I said, language accuracy takes time to build. It takes many years to build, right? And so it gets improvement over time. But it's always like anything else, you have to start, right? And I'll tell you a great example, right? The first car that was built didn't even have a brake to stop the car. It got into an accident and it stopped. But we can't say that the car was bad, right? It was the starting point of a car. And then we started making improvements every day, every month, every year into it. Now cars drive themselves, right? After 100 years. So technology like this, we start, you'll have a lot of problems. It'll be like the car that didn't have a brake to stop. But we just build and improve over time. And then over a few years, many years, things will look very different from how it is today, right? So I think that's part of that. You need to have patience with something like that. It's a very complex technology. It requires a lot of effort, a lot of engineering research, right? So it just takes time, right? So those are my two feedback.
시즌조 트위터 James
हजुर
प्रत्येक सेन्टेन्स यो अर्थ ठुयान समरी मुठुला छिमभटी जादा समरी एन्डीला
वेकल छोराइ दुडा छ आ छिउठो नेपाल भाषा यो नेवारी चोइटौले वेकल टाइडिउ अनुसार लाइब्रेरी कांग्रेस है उखे ठुके याना सर्वे याना नेवारी टेमाला टाइडिला मला आ छि टाइडिउ नेवार वो याद जने चोइनि से चेन्ज या मला कोइ जग आ सडनली है जी मखर के वेकल टाइडिउ थे छ अले आ तो टेक्नोलॉजी रहि छि आ सुरु वे लिपा वे छि स चेन्ज या जी फर के टाइडिउ जे ट्याक जन मलाई जस्तै कार्यो एक्जाम्पल बेडिल नै भएको से वर्ष यहाँ गाडी डेगोबले ब्रेक मरो एक्सिडेन्ट जुबले तिनी गाडी रोके जुल टाइट है आ ठुटे जने छिसा वो यानो वने जी आ तो छिसा आ छुया त मेबी सन वो फलो याइ मेल थेकन मर्ने माइक्रोसफ्ट है
मलाई 30% एक्युरेसी जुयान त स्टप या माउ कारण मुख्य छु
म वो आ वो ठुटे जने छिसा डायलॉग यन्चने जो ठुटे छिसा छु कमिटी नेपालमा जने छिसा एक्युरेट याले करेक्ट याना लिपर ठुके चेन्ज याके फैजी मलाई आछि या माउ जाला यो कोइ दनि ठुके आछु फर्स्ट मे एन जुने तने छुटो नेपाल भाषा त गुगल नि पहिला दुखाके स्वेट नो अले
स्टप या माउ कारण सुजुल रिवा मोठुला झि पहिला
छु रेडियो
स्टप या माउ कारण
पोवाजो जी सबिला वेकन टाइडियो ता
जी ठिकै म फोकस
नापा चाहिँ गो छिटो एआई नु टेक्नोलोजी वे यहाँ चाहिँ मोनोटेस थर्म ट्रान्सलेट याना चाहिँ छिटो डाटा बीमा हो आ चाहिँ नु टेक्नोलोजी वोली चाहिँ वो यामा चाहिँ जरुर मन त वेको पनि नु टेक्नोलोजी छला चाहिँ नु मोडल देखा पुलाउ डाटा न काउ अरे नु कठौ यो गो डाटा वे त उइट न छला चाहिँ छि नु कठौ वनि हिसाबमा चाहिँ वो रोके और खाता हिजो बा छला चाहिँ वजुल मेरो छला जी हन छ क्लियर या वेकन हन त एक्सप्लेन यान हामी जी छ दोरे होला वेकन छोराइ जो तासा गो झि नेवारी यो नेपाल भाषा जुनी वो स्ट्यान्डर्ड इन्टरनेसनल आइएसओ र इन्टरनेसनल स्ट्यान्डर्ड अर्गनाइजेसन या सुख होला वेक अप न्यू लिस्ट है न त वेबसाइट न किन दिल उके चाहिँ झिउ भाइ त चाहिँ नेपाल भाषा वो नेवारी रगा अन किता नै यान तो खनि आ गुगल चाहिँ झिसँग थाल त हुन त चाहिँ वेक अप इन नेवारी तै मुख खुनेका या मतलब नेपाल भाषा तै मुख खुनेका मतलब यो स्ट्यान्डर्ड छुचुया त उदो वेजको वेक अप इन यही हो अले यदि माइक्रोसफ्ट न आ जी को थरे याना चुना नि Microsoft या तो Amazon अथे या तो था वेब कपिन सन अनि वेबसाइट ओना सो अनि वेबसाइट एसोले अनलाइन नेपाल भाषा नेवारी त खनि जिउसन छेतेमा तका वो स्ट्यान्डर्डली एना वना उनी कामा उखे चाहिँ आयु हिसाबे चाहिँ गु अनुसार त वेजको जुई यदि जिसन चाहिँ मको जिम त ये म नेवारलाई छ लिक्यामा था चाहिँ वे गर्न छुदाइदियो राछ वो आइएसओ था गु संस्थाको अनि वना चाहिँ इन्टेक कम्प्लेन याना छिमसँग थिएन त त ल वो लिकाना चाहिँ नेपाल भाषा जगति तथा चाहिँ जिसन ताउन ताया इमसँग या त थाहा चाहिँ दिपा गुल्न नुनु टेक्नोलोजी नुनु कम्पनी त वइ नि यहाँ प्रोजेक्ट आइपि वे कपिन चाहिँ खाली नेपाल भाषा जगतै नेवारी भाषा तका त्यही हो वे गर्न ताइदियो चाहिँ गएर
आइएसओ रे संस्था
ISO I think international standard or so is it ISO is international standard organization?
Yeah, international. I put the link here. I can put it again. You can go and look at it, and they define all of the languages, right? There's like I don't know 1,000 something languages over there, I think.
International Julie Google on जिसँग तारा धान्तौ चाहिँ वे कमिसन with the change या चाहिँ मुयु खनिका छारा वो वे कमिसन छौ गु दक्षिण संसार भरि दक्षिण माने गु छौ संस्था ख छौ वेबसाइट को वे अनुसार वन माउजुल उखे चाहिँ त्यो प्रब्लम चाहिँ थोका आ जिसन छ्या जो राता तो गूगल ट्रान्सलेट गूगल न जुनी वन के भ्यू मखला आ तो मे या जुने त्यहाँ वइ थाइदियो तो आ जिसन चाहिँ नाप्न प छि छोले पान खला छि छो हन पुचो देका चाहिँ आइएसओ बडी चाहिँ जिसन गेना अप्रोच या खै छि थम या सरकारी लेभलले वना जिसन वना चाहिँ वेब अप इन द थो पौ बिया का थरे थरे ख थोथो कारण किन त थाइदियो नि वो दसी त यो कोदु थो नेवारी मखो नेपाल भाषा दगा वो दगो दसी त छठा तया छि दको मुना चाहिँ सरकारी लेभलमा जुल्ला छि संस्था लेभलमा जुल्ला वेब कमिट बना चाहिँ थो पीएचएना चाहिँ छिमो वेबसाइट थो हटे या तगा चाहिँ दाजु वो हटे यार कि चाहिँ दिपा हाना छिस गुगलले वना छु दाजु लाछ काना इमसँग चाहिँ नेपाल भाषाको तेदा हो छिमसँग चाहिँ नेपाल भाषाको ति नेवारी ते मते तगा दाजु ल नाप्ना प लिप अमेजन गुगल अमेजन फेसबुक या नुनु कम्पनी लिप वइ वेक अप इनसँग नेपाल भाषा पनि जायाबले चाहिँ वेक अप इनसँग नेपाल भाषाको चाहिँ नेवारी भाषा तगा तै म
I again want to stress, right? This is not a independent decision, right? It's not like, somebody's making a decision and we're saying we're going to do this. Right? We're just following standards. And it's very important to follow standards. Very, very important, right? And because we're not talking about, creating a translation model for the 30 people that are here, right? It is creating a translation model for the 8.5 billion people in the world, right? Because we don't know tomorrow who's going to use this. It's not just us, right? It's going to be 8.5 billion people that could potentially use this. So we have to have one standard, one standard organization and terms that we use to sort of define all of this, right? So it's very important. So we have to think really, really big, right? Because global translation models is what we're trying to get to, right? Tomorrow, if somebody from South Africa comes to Nepal and then they go to Kathmandu and then they're trying to translate that, they should be able to understand, translate as well, right? Not just, the 30, 40, 50 people that have been working on this for 3 years. Our contribution is a contribution to everybody that can use this language, right? So that's very important for us to kind of think of it from that perspective.
Thank you, Uzalju and Dipesu. I hope the answer Pawaju's concerns, and we will keep continue the dialogue. And as you and Dipesu said, we will reach out to ISO to perhaps change that thing.
To update, yeah. Once you update over there, everybody else will update it.
Right.
With
yes.
it. Yeah.
Yes. We'll talk about that. Now we have Memochi Meiju Viver Gadu Weke Nathan Kanemanta. Chu Pariche Bia Chu Nyasa Chiaka Nyasa Taidita Inapia.
Josulupa, Gina Shahani. I'm Shahani, and I am a PhD candidate in linguistics. I focus on the syntax of Nepalbhasa, and linguistics PhD yansuno jiu bhayu grammar ito analyze yansuno ale jiu bhayu chaini syntax dune yu kha chaini shike technical kha chai so etuno do ale to context chaini jeta chaini ujulji na chama prashna time asked wala so ujulji I kind of work within linguistics and computational linguistics in my PhD. and I'm looking at the syntax of our language. And as you would know, like because our language is extremely radically different from a lot of the dominant languages on the internet structure-wise. Like just focusing on the syntax, you kind of like recognize a lot of rare parts of speech that you do not see in the dominant languages, right? And do you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and so like while also straddling across my discipline into computational linguistics, when I look into how low
We can hear you now. I think you went on mute.
You're muted. Yeah, please unmute. Thank you.
Yeah, I find work being done in Tibetan in a lot of universities in China, because Tibetan is a minority language in China, right? And a lot of the research work there, they've been talking about how when you run these language models which have been tagged with these rare parts of speech or rare syllables that you find in endangered languages, somehow the accuracy improves, with all of these algorithms. That's pretty much the research around, let's say, 2017, right? And now that's still like 6 years ago. And, technology, as you said, has really advanced. And, in the current context, I was interested to ask you, like, do you see Google using linguistic knowledge into, incorporating linguistic knowledge into these models? Because like when I first attended this meeting and, you were there to initiate the project, I remember you saying that, this particular project for Nepalbhasa wasn't going to be adopting methods in natural language processing, if I remember it correctly. I don't know if that still stands correct today, but, just reflecting on how models work with just like statistical data, just modeling on like whatever input there is versus hybrid models with some rule-based factors incorporated into it. I was just curious about what do you see happening in Google at the moment with the low resource languages? And speaking about accuracy, you said like the accuracy plateaus at a certain point. And do you think to go beyond the plateau, if you incorporate like some of the finer linguistic points of what the language is really about, how the structure of the language really works, do you think it is at that point where certain linguistic aspects can be incorporated? Sorry, that was a long one.
No. That's a great question and great feedback and very good insight, right, into this. So there's a couple of ways this all works, right? So from a Google perspective, so there is a research team that focuses on different languages that look at different techniques, just using standard and ML engineering around natural processing, language processing, as well as I think for some languages they have augmented with certain rule-based modeling as well. That changes over a period of time. But what also happens is we look at the problem with like a 6,000 language in view type of approach, right? And what we don't have is a resource to go and individually assess each language and then start building rules. So we try to generalize as much as possible we can so that we can get languages quicker and faster onto our platform, right? So there's an aspect of scale, which is a big problem for us because it's given the number of languages, and there's also aspect of time, right? And so how can we get the most amount of languages on the platform in the shortest amount of time, right? If that was a problem set. So I think there's definitely an approach that's like that we take, and the researchers do look at different types of language models that they've built over a period of time, and that's evolving and using data to retrain so that we have something that better outcome. Now, I think with all of the transformer models that came out in the last year, which has been really popularized by Gen AI, right? I think there's new techniques in building translation models for languages as well. So I think you will see some improvement over that. But going back to I think your earlier question, there isn't anything unique we're doing for Nepalbhasa right now where we're building in certain rules uniquely for that language itself, because the engineering team doesn't look at, or maybe the better way to put it is, there is no engineer just assigned for Nepalbhasa. Let's put it that way, right? I mean, there's no researcher just assigned for Nepalbhasa. It's a bunch of researchers, bunch of engineers kind of working for all the languages, right? So there's But the one thing I would love to do is maybe I'll follow up with you offline, and then I'll connect you with the researchers that I'm working with, or the engineering researchers that I work with directly there. And then, maybe it might be something that the two of you can hit it off and then kind of figure out how to make this better, right? So that might be an approach to take as well. Because I'm not a linguist at all. I'm just a plain computer engineer, so I have no idea how all of this works. So
yeah, I mean, the whole issue being that, like, if somebody uses Google Translate in the education space, and if it is not entirely accurate, how would that be? So, like,
it is,
yeah.
and I think we have to again really kind of ground ourselves on why we started this. I think sometimes what ends up happening is, even this team, right, this 30-ish people we have over here, there's a variety of profiles, right? You coming from an academic background in linguistics, computational linguistics, you are very unique, right? Your questions and your need is not going to be for someone like me who just wants to make sure I'm paying and asking the right questions when I shop for something in government. Right? Our use cases are also very, very broad, right? So when we talk about translations, at least the first iteration of it, very likely it's for, hey, can I just get basic communications out the door? Can I ask for directions? Can I ask for how much it costs? Just so that there isn't a barrier for simple questions, right? Now, I would not recommend this for somebody to translate an academic journal. I'm sure this would be very, very inaccurate. Right, but I think it's that evolution over a period of time where we can kind of even if you look at other languages, for example, like English to French or English to German or somewhere we have sufficient amount of data. I don't think people use this to sort of make factual claims, right? It is about still communicating, right? And that's what this is focused on.
Yeah, sure. But even within simple communication, like our verbs are like radically different, But anyway, I mean, this is a longer conversation and I'd love to be in touch.
So I think we will discuss afterward about this thing. So we have other people asking questions. Is that okay?
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you for your questions. It's a great question. And thank you, Uzul, for answering. Now we have another guest here, raise a hand. Raising hand for a while. Krishna Chakuzu.
Okay, thank you very much, Ujjwal. Thank you very much. First of all, it's very good news to hear that it's coming in May or June, which is already we are very close to that. That's one, I would say, very big achievement on that. Of course, you have said that now about Nepalbhasa and Newari, already you explained that. At least I'm glad to see that at least Nepalbhasa is the main name. Newari becomes as a introductory to someone who doesn't know about Nepalbhasa. So it will come under the bracket, which already means something. But of course, like Seasonju said, of course, we'll be talking about how to submit the petition, in this case, if required, to this ISO. We will be working on that line, I'm sure. Now, one quick thing is that, of course, now the new model where you said, I think the accuracy still comes from somewhere the data. If there are sufficient data, then of course it will be more accurate. And so I'm just wondering where the data will come from in the new model, unless they are contributed. That's one question. And next question, I just want to see that, I believe, even though it's not required, but still we can continue validating the language. I think I did try in another language to validate that in Google Translate. I think it's still there. So I think this contribution, like if not translation, at least the validation we can continue. That is the next thing. And because I know, as far as the accuracy is concerned, I work in different languages. For instance, I translate English into or local into English, and the accuracy is a very difficult thing. I use Russian, I use Georgian, I use Bangladeshi, I use Indian and Nepalese, Nepalbhasa, and all different languages. And I see the accuracy is very, very far from the truth. You always had to edit it. You'll never get 100% accurate. So that's one thing. But that accuracy, of course, will rise from the data. When data is available, then it will be more accurate. That's the one thing. Just another last question is that when you read in Facebook messages, and you can see the translation there, yeah, and then also you have an opportunity to see what is the original, and they do have a system of rate the translation. And I find that in Nepalbhasa also, somebody writes in Nepalbhasa and it's translated. And at many times I see that, well, I give about 2 to 3 stars. It is available. And in some cases, it even up to 4. I don't know if it's linked with Google or it's not, but I'm glad it's there. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think so. Facebook has their own language. Like I said, everybody has their own language model. I mean, everybody will slowly develop, right? I mean, and what ends up happening is depending on the data that they have, some language models developed by one organization will be better at certain things, while others will have things that are better at something else, right? And so I think that's just going to happen naturally. So even here, you can go and it's probably rating is not the way I would describe it, but let's say you can actually go and provide feedback here. So you just rate this translation, right? You can click on this, and then you can say it's good, bad, and you can even suggest an edit, like to say, okay, what is it that you want to edit? You can kind of edit this, and then you can submit. So even as after we go through the process of launching the language, each member can come in and then kind of use that. We had the evaluate function on the beta models where you could give the thumbs up and the thumbs down, right? It's the same feature, also with the ability to edit the translation so that you can, and then once you do that and submit that goes back into your pool of data, and then the model can revise that, right, over a period of time. So
that means we can continue validating now.
Continue validation with your own set of languages. Like, for example,
so it is
this
not
allows.
Stopped. Okay.
It's not. It's just how you're doing it has changed.
Correct.
What you're doing, it really hasn't changed too much. And here now, what will also happen? I think remember when we were doing evaluation with the beta model, we limited to 50 text characters, right? Now you can do up to 5,000. So imagine you copy and paste the entire paragraph, and then you can go and make sure you get all of the paragraph right, and you submit. Now you're doing large chunks. So you can do this, and you can make it better over time, right? Now by introducing larger and larger pieces of data at a time. So
that's wonderful. That's wonderful news. So I'm telling, it's good news for our friends who are worried about what will happen after this, but our work can continue, that we can keep on validating, that we can contributing this without any. That will just improve the accuracy.
It will. And then just with any AI or ML output, right?
Yeah.
Right now, it's a good place to start, right?
Good.
I'll easiest example. When you drive your Tesla, and if you have a Tesla, it has full self-driving mode. You can turn full self-driving mode, but you still have to have your hands on the steering wheel. You cannot let it go, right? So think of it, this is like that. It'll translate, but you still have to drive it a little bit. You have to make sure it's accurate, but it'll get you a good place to start. Let's say, if you have to translate a paragraph, it'll kind of give you 80% of it accurately. Then you have to kind of go and figure out the ones that don't work. So it's easier for you to start, right? It's not necessarily that it's saying it'll do all the work. It's getting you to start, making it easy, and then over time, it's getting there, right? So that's what it is. Think of it from that perspective.
Yeah, thank you so much, Uzo.
Yeko subhadu presnai to nesay lagi ale Uzol jo lisa biadiule bazu meju pe thong yo tho chu jazo Nepalbhasa naza beginning at right hand Nepalbhasa Google Translation suddenly suruju suddenly waya ukno March 29 tarik ni se rojane diu kha uke bisale yoko bazu meju pinil te nyasa du jo ne atsuji gejure uke bisale thong connect Google let's the main Gwalian to Dimbadi Uzol Razvanda Zuita Sata Tong Bises Jazo Yatonoka Tonchi Ato Yoko Kontala Yasana one no do Lisana Wedong do Chipi Madetana Tana Zang did Benisu Yasata Dani Zusa Lalona details and Inapian Zona Yedi Moxa Chisanza Tongi Jazo Tana Quatsaga offline Nachi Kalabala Yajitini. Soon, Yasata soon be select to get Donuka. Okay, Deb Mahardanzu, Houston, Texas, Lalo na diudu. Chu camera saya ka mic unmute yana chu bosa go chia go jaga yasa tai di ina pinjona subha. Dave zo chu mile sa camera na anin disa.
Thank you, Sijanrai. It's very nice to hear from the person who is behind the scene for a long time, Ujjalji. And Ujjalji, thank you very much to hear from you finally. And there are lots of conflicts before we go to the stuff. So I was wondering if we can clarify some of the basic conflicts like Nepal Bhai, Nepalbhasa, Newari, and all those stuff. You already mentioned all those delegates to go in the future, but it's very hard to convince or explain or make it understand for the people in Nepal who has too many sentimentals behind their what do you call I couldn't find the word to say it, but there are lots of people still in Nepal who has a big sentimental stuff. So in managing all those stuff, how we go in the future, maybe you can come once a month and explain it what's going on, or like every 2 weeks giving update to all the people. Maybe they will understand a little bit more better. Right now in some places I see we are not in the same pace, we are in different pace, and that will create some more conflicts. Anyway, it's just too many stuffs going on. As long as our language is there to translate, it will help in the future. Give me some feedback, and I'm going to close my video and mic and listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think, I definitely agree, right? I mean, everybody has a little different experience culturally with the language, with those around the community. And it's always hard to find one thing that works for everybody. I think it's not just within this community, but any community that probably is a challenge. I think we can definitely do a better job in communicating more and more regularly, right? And I think I want to stress, right, when we started all of this, I mean, at least when I was thinking about this in 2020 in December when I joined, my goal, or at least my goal at that time, was, I was reading about the languages that were endangered and possibly being extinct, not having speakers or any kind of means of preserving languages other than having books, etc., right? And so I thought, what is the fastest way for us to save the language? That's it. I was not looking at it from a perspective of, is there a way for us to make the language better? Is it perspective of way for us to make the language easier to use so that we have more speakers, right? Growing the footprint of our users, right? I just wanted to say, is there a place where I can just save this? So, 100 years down the road, 200 years down the road, when there's no Nepalbhasa speaker, and then somebody sees a book of Nepalbhasa, they don't know what it is, they can use this and at least, read our stories, read about our culture that's written in the language itself. My goal was to only save the language, right? And you start off with with that goal, and then you build on top of that over a period of time, right? Because now everybody has a point of view, everybody gets excited, there's enthusiasm, passion behind all of this. And so we started talking about, hey, there are different dialects, there are different things we can do with it. Can we start doing, for example, like the audio languages, speech to text, text to speech kind of things. Maybe we'd want to be able to translate videos in the future, right? There's so many things you can do and build on top of it. I think sometimes we all get, we kind of get fixated on what's right in front of us. and that sort of distracts us at time. And I think sometimes like that's what's happening here as well, is we only see what is in front of us right now as this, right? But really, this is just the started. Now, once we have this, we have some ability of saving this language, right? Some place it's being registered and it's there. Right now, we can say, okay, what else can we do with this, right? There's so many folks within our community that are involved with technology every day. They can start using it. They can maybe build, other things like, like specifically maybe translations for, shops, for products. You can do a lot of different things with this. So I the only thing I ask is everybody don't think about this is it. Like, when we launch it doesn't mean that's the end and this is the only opportunity we'll have, right? It's all about, okay, we have this, now let's make it better, right? Growing and everything. The beauty about technology, it can be changed, it changes, and we can change it the way we want to change it over a period of time. And so I think that's how I want everybody to start thinking about, right? Is like, hey, how do we change this? How do we make this better, right? And this is just a starting point. And so I wanted to sort of realize, can we just save this? And then let's figure out what we can do next with it better, right? So that's where we are.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, please.
Nesala Muhu, I maybe a kind of comment or something like that. Yes, Ujjal, I think many thanks to you because of this what do you call it, sensitive issue about the preserving the language, the Nepalbhasa, and you really changed me in the sense that I also thought that Nepalbhasa, nobody speaks in Nepal. Outside people just speak Nepalbhasa, and you go to Nepal, everybody speaks in English language. So you really changed me, so that because of this language translation, I started to learn, and this is something that you really changed, you did. And about other sentiments that Paubaji, everybody brought about this, I think you also mentioned something about the research you did in Nepal about what sort of people use it in Newari language and Nepalbhasa, and definitely you have got some numbers. So to change that, yes, we have to change the top, but I just wanted to say that we have to change accordingly in Nepal. There are many Nepali people, Nepali, Nepalbhasa, Newar, everybody speak Newari language. So let's just start from us rather than going to the IOS. Let's just start Nepal people in Nepal. Let's just tell them, don't say Newari, say Newar. So we have to change ourselves, and this really is something that I wish that it came long before, but now this is really good. And from bottom of my heart, I really thank you, Ujjal. And I know nothing about the technology, and I'm learning quite a lot. And I hope that everybody did the same thing. Let's just change ourselves. This is a changing world. Let's just change with it. Thank you so much, and thank you, Dipesh, and thank you everybody in season for this. And I really appreciate this. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Taska Bangopati advice kahla chen chida wesen thame chen paila Newari Madasi Nepalbhasa tamala mala chen ni se chen yamala wo banglo sujaw kha ukela yeko subadu chida thana chu meu nesa wodu je chau जानकारी न बिए चना चिक पिन ठौ छि to 11:40 ला थना इसको स्यु टाइम 12 बजे यु पिटे जने छिसा सिदेके उठो बसा गइ चयुदु एजुले चिक पिन meu छु नेसा दुसल last minute लाल होना मडी तो जने जी इना पेना सुरेश प्रधान जुना लाल होना ड्यूडु सुरेश जु छु जने उज्जवल जी त आज ये छु खला बलाई बिसेला नेसा दुठा छ लाल होना ड्यूले चियाको कथा नेसा तैदि जने इना पिन जने सुबे
अगर सुबह सीजन जी
डिडना अनियन डीजी की
just I would like to know about that. What is the model of improvising the accuracy level of translation? The remaining things, it will be compromised by the system, by whatever it means. but I'm curious about how the model will improvise the accuracy level, because as you mentioned, it was around 30% in earlier discussion of accuracy. So if the accuracy level remains same, then it might be difficult to justify the translation from Google and other means. Then it might be difficult to justify the people to go on the carry on the translation system what we are doing for the last few years. So I'm curious about the level improvising status of the system, how we can improvise the level of accuracy. Thank you.
No. Again, I think there's always a lot of concern around accuracy, right? So for any kind of AI ML models, right? Data is the source, right? The more data you have, the more quality data you have, the output is always better. I think over a period of time, as we use the translations and we provide feedback, what we'll do is it'll increase both the volume of data, as well as, because we're directly providing feedback, we're making edits and changes, it'll also increase the quality of data, right? So those two are probably, I'll say, the majority of what will help us improve translation quality over a period of time. Second thing, I think, as we talked about earlier, there's an opportunity, maybe because our language has some unique characteristics, we can add some rules or some, definition of how to treat certain things that might help augment the model, but that requires a little bit more time and effort and engineering, which probably is a lot harder to do than just the community contributing more data and quality data over a period of time, right? Once it launches, like I said, you can then start copying and pasting text paragraphs, you can do larger chunks, you can give your own sentence and your own translation, right? And so this over time will just, I think our focus should be just improving the quality of the data that we're providing, as well as the volume of data, right? And then that can be done to the same model. So those are two things, right? So the more is always, when it comes to data, the more you have always is better, but you want more quality data, not just more data, but more quality data, right? So as long as we have real quality translations that we're feeding back into the system, it always will be better. And I think that's the focus for this community to have, right? Yeah. And so just I think just to are we gonna have more questions, Suzuki, or are we kind of?
We have one more question here.
Oh, sorry. Let's go. Yep.
We have Naresh Ju wrote here on our chat box. His last question: what one action do you think we should take now, not just to drop momentum of the daily Google Translate for now? That's what he wrote here.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one. So a couple of things I would say, right? I've been also kind of thinking about, okay, what's next for us, right? I think one area. So I think from now till launch, right? I think there's very little that we can do because the system isn't there for us to do it yet, right? Once it launches, it'll be right there available for us. But I think from now till launch, we can at least start collecting materials we want to translate, because now hold on. So if I shared, like I shared with you before, right here, now you should be able to do larger contributions here, right? For example, instead of doing this, let me see if I can go somewhere else and find something. Let's go to like okay, I'm gonna take something from this, just a news, and then let's say I will copy and paste this into the translate page over here, right? So this is just from the news. So you can go paste it and it kind of gives you all of this feedback, right? And you can say, well, I don't like some of these. Let me go and edit this. And you can go and edit certain pieces of this. My recommendation is to go find this, find the English content you want to tell. Maybe your favorite story, your favorite news article, maybe some documentary or publication that you really love, right? Just have it ready, something that, so then you can cut and paste over here, and then it'll kind of give you the translation, and you can go and edit all of that and submit it. Now, suddenly, you are controlling the English, and you're also controlling the Nepalbhasa portion of it. And you can submit that as feedback, right? And you can do, this many words is only 300. You can do 5,000 here. So you can do pretty long chunks of letters, long chunks of continuous strings of sentences. And you can kind of put that, right? And what really helps in these models is, before we just had one sentence and we should translate one sentence, and then, but now imagine if you are, you can provide context, right? You can provide, the model will get intelligent because you'll say, okay, you mentioned a boy on the first paragraph. Now referring to the boy on the second paragraph, that means that's the same boy, right? So those kind of intelligence, the model will start building. And so understanding longer. So there's a lot more richer data and quality data that's going back into the system, right? So it's really important to start thinking about it like that. So I would say, until we launch, start thinking about what you want to translate and what you want to spend your time doing. Your favorite article, favorite book, something like that. Then you can start posting it over there and then start translating. I think it'd be a good way to kind of get started. That's one. One thing I've been thinking about, what I want to do is, right now everything is Devanagari right here. I was thinking maybe we could build a visual model, or like a image recognition model for Ranjana Lipi, and then see if we can use this to translate from here to here, and then from here to Ranjana Lipi, right? So that it comes out from English to Ranjana Lipi. I've been kind of thinking about that. I'm playing around with the idea of how that would do. And, when I go to Nepal, I'll try to see if I can get some content that I can start scanning and seeing if I can build a model around that. But that's something I've been thinking about. So there's things about that. Now, next thing you can think about is, okay, I have this I can translate to English, into audio. Is there a way I can translate this into audio? Maybe build an audio model. So there's couple of things we can start thinking about. There's a lot of things we can do. It's limitless what you can do.
Great, thank you so much. So we have one last question from Kumar Napiju in Germany. Before I give him the time to ask question, I want to read something here. Dr. Susil Tamrakar posted on our live chat. One of the researcher or scientists of Nepalbhasa, Vidwan, वरिष्ठ साहित्यकार मोहन हिमांशु थापा सुनुनिया मरोड बडी व्याकरण थन जुन चाहिँ दिउदु व्याकरण जने नेपाल भाषाको लागि योको कन्ट्रिब्युसन यन दिउदु व्याकरण जने चिर शान्ति मलाई आत्म चिर शान्ति हो कामना जीमा के चिस मनन टुसे चिस जने व्याकरण जने बिसा हाके जने थन ठोचिउ लागि नेपाल भाषाको लागि छौ टडौ लसे जिमाजी योको सुभाय तो जानकारी लगे डॉक्टर सुशील तमरकर जो कुमार नापित जो छु माइक अनम्यूट ना छु जने नेसा तैदित इनापिन जमा सुभाय
Jojolupa for all the there and the respected peoples, and hello for all. Very nice work, good job, Mr. Ujjwal Raj Bhandari. I have still watching for your work starting to now, 1,000 episode, because it is very important for our Newar Samudaya and the Nepalbhasa. So, starting to now, this is a big challenge and the worldwide, before I have heard, is million people watching and the studying for this language working. So your work is very nice, like it. Keep on, Ujjwal. Thank you very much for the helping for the all new organizations. Very good work. And I must say all your team, Mr. Srijan Shrestha, past president, it's very nice work. Thank you very much. Keep on. Go ahead. That's all. I'm not a specialist for the language and technology also, because I like very much. This is very important subject and the important things you guys done still 1,000 episodes. And I think is my questions is Ujjwal Bhandari. It is all of it is final when we can see the Google Translate. How long more it is enough is finished? That is my questions. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for all the sentiment. Just like I think I had a goal, and that goal I could not have done it by myself. Every one of you made my goal and aspirations possible, right? So you all are as important to this process as I am. In fact, more important than I ever will be ever in this process, right? All I did was just bring the right people together. You all actually made the contribution to make this happen. So we are planning, at least the timeline that I'm working with engineering is that it's about a month-ish is the timeline where we want to launch this. About a month is when we'll have this language actually launched on Google Translate. So, and then we'll come back and we'll celebrate. We'll all use it together. I'm sure there's going to be many people that are going to say, oh, this is not accurate, this and that, but we will talk again. We'll figure out a way to kind of make this better, right? But it's a starting point. It's the start of the race, right? And so we want to kind of get that in about a month-ish time is what I'm going to say. We'll have the language launched.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
विशेष जाजो नेपाल भाषा गुगल ट्रान्सलेट सोडन यहाँ सुरुजु सडनली उख्नु आका मार्च महिना या 2024 मार्च या 29 तारिख निसे छि व रोकेट जुय चंगो उके विषयले यको जिउ जने मने थो सुजु गेजु रै पनि नेसा त दै चंगजु नि थौ व क्लियरफाई या द पाजु उजल जुय द सड छिसन थौ थौ खलाबला न्याके छना छिक पनि रुपति नेसा डकोए वेकला पुंग लिसा बिया दिला दै पनि जे पालसका या वेकला नक्तिनी मेन्सन यान ड्यु थे छिक पेसान यान दिला जिउ नापा बिगिनिङ एन छिसन टायुका जिउ नेपाल भाषा यु है अनुसार डायलेक्ट दु विटना करेक्ट यान यंक्यु अथवा नेपाल भाषा दु जने छिसन नापा जने ग्रुप मना अथवा छेचोने छिसन ट्रान्सलेट या आजने फिट गेन फिट जने थाय छेचोने जने पिंगे दै पनि वेकला डेमो एन केना दिदुंकला ला वजको मक्से आछु थो नेपाल भाषा नापा मेपी जे पाजु मेजु पिनि नेसन दुख बिगिनिङ निसे प्रचलित लिपि मलाई छुजरा रञ्जन लिपि न ठुके दुठ्याला त यु विषयलाई वेकला नतिनी टाइगिरला वेकला जना वो लिपि न कलेक्य न वेकला ठिद दुठ्याके दै पनि वेकला जुन नतिन टाइदिला वो छिसन नापा टाइथे जुइतोङ वेदु थोची इन आफै वनला जनै निगौ जुइन जुइ छगौ त्या मया रुला निगौ ति जुइन वेकयु व्यस्तता यो दिने न छिटो ठुलमसी इ बिया दिला वेके जने यको सुहायला बिया माला छिसा उज्जवल राजभण्डारी जुइ त वजको मक्सी आछु ठ गुगल ट्रान्सलेट यु सुरुवात हेद इन्स्ट्रुमेन्टल रोल मिटा दिउला वे छिकपिसा सुवेका वो बाहेक छिकपि निया निठा त विभिन्न ग्रुपे मुना गुगल ट्रान्सलेट यान या त कन्ट्रिब्युट यान दिला छे चोना इन्डिभिजुअल रुपेना छिकपिसा कन्ट्रिब्युसन भ्यालिडेसन यान दिला छिकने सक्सेस जने त WDB टिम पाखे जने युकु रुनुगल निसे सुभाय देछन चोना थौ खुशियो ख छिसा निने डटा नापा मजु सोड इ लगे जुसा नेपाल भाषा छि नेपाल भाषा मै सीट हइपटी सुजु हइपटी छिउ मने जे चौ ठौ या छिसा फुली छिसा सिलकी छिरो टोका जुलकी नेपाल भाषा गुगल लक्ष्य पेट्रे गुगल ट्रान्सलेटेड दुथ्यायु फिटो जने छिसा हरेक हलि नेका चुन चम्पी छि इन्डिभिजुअल त मला छिसा मुना भाषा प्रेमी त महाभा प्रेमी त छिसा जने तो भा बचाइ लागि जने कन्ट्रिब्युट यान दिउडु यान दिरकना पलसा कासे ठौ ठो जाजो ठनाय कोचाके जे अनुमति फन छना कोचाके न्या जने ठौ ठो छि गुगल ठौ जाजो विशेष जाजो न्याके त टेक्निकल सपोर्ट एनडीपी डिपेसमान साकेजु आयरल्यान्ड अले पौवा सामीजु नेपालले वेका पिण्ड विशेष धन्यवाद नपा उज्जवल राजभण्डार यो ठौ जने डक्ले ताहाको जने छु लागि वेका अनलाइन चोन दिउ जुइमाजी वकेरले विशेष धन्यवाद जुल नपा छिप्पी सकल न्यासनिना दिपी अनलाइन अले ठन जुमे न्यासनिना दिपी नपा बटिकाइ दिपी सकल सित यको सुबाय देछासे ठौ ठो जाजो कोचाके त तर कोचाइको यहाँ कृष्ण दाइन ठन लाल हुन त्यो उठाएछ कसो सोच्छु
हजुर
एकदमै
छता
सोटे
छता
सोच्छु
चीज
छ
का हजुर सुबह सीजन जो जी छता चीज का ढामा आस्ते हो जी pas bisa kasi abon sa esa Google Translate la banda jo laga go dhai diyo ka ji dhatina banda jo mako launch jutle pia disa launch juit hun satwa ji ke uto nyadwa yo list yo tata ro paragraph ji translate diya mani wo wait to validate diya mani wait to correction diya mani a ji stage se thoshi kona chwe yo stage e thamongo oge lai chikbe sakita je pindona de cha oge ji ja napa 초초 sentence यांचना उठासे आजिगे छोछो पेज न्यू पेज अथवा पैराग्राफ का पैराग्राफ जिससे ट्रांसलेट यानी वैलिडिटी आमाली उखंडो ओके लगी जिससे तैयार जैसे माली नक्चुनी उज्जवल जो चीज़ होमवर्क भी आदि उडू वो होमवर्क के छताला ट्रांसलेट किया उडियो लिख के माला अनावया वो रंजना लिपि नवया करना सीजन जो ना डाइडला अते में ऑडियो मॉडल उखी बिसाना जिसे बिजाया माजे जिते गक्के होमवर्क भी आदि जिसे होमवर्क या उले था सुबह
यो सुबाडु कृष्ण दाइ चे जी कफी ची चे मेंशन निदिला चे यो सुबाडु हग्न सग छिक्ने सक्सित यो सुबाडु से त उजल thank you so much for your unconditional support and your dedication to save our Nepal Bhasa. We really appreciate your time, dedication, everything. You put your heart and soul to save our Nepal Bhasa here, and we really appreciate for your time, everything, and thank you for your time today. I think we are going to end today's session, and we will meet again soon to update where we are.
Definitely.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody.
अझै लाइभ बन्दै या
हजुर प्लिज